Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to this next webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm delighted today to be joined by three people at the cutting edge of the industry. So we've got Tony Mann from Idle Travel, Gordon McCreadie from If Only, and Amanda Matthews from Designer Travel. So welcome, everyone. Now, I invited you to come onto this earlier this week, and I thought we were going to be talking about some more positive things, some green shoots, and we will get onto that. But obviously, last night we heard the news about the Canary Islands being removed from the travel corridor list, which we've been reporting a massive blow for many in the industry. Tony, I'm going to come to you because I know Canaries is a huge part of your winter business. So. Tell me what has happened in your business since you heard that news last night.
Oh, well, I got home relaxing or trying to relax. Then my daughter rang me and said, have you seen the news? The Grim Reaper's been on the telly again and they've dropped the Canary Islands that come off the travel corridor. To be honest, I was just totally shocked. I wasn't expecting it. I'd read the news before from the Canaries that they look like they're going to do the antigen test. To be honest, we've had a bit of a nightmare with people doing the test postal ones that have just seemed to have, the companies have gone into meltdown really. So we've had that anyway since we've come back from lockdown. And so, yeah, we thought it was going to be positive news with the antigen test and then actually, thrown completely off with this, which is just, it's a nightmare, to be honest. Devastating, really.
Yeah. And I mean, do you know how many bookings did you have, like people presumably ready to travel imminently?
Yeah, well, I'd already started getting calls with people who actually were abroad,
right.
Trying to get home. So I've had them. We've got people going forward. We're now having people, though, not only ring us, obviously, we've got people going at Christmas time. I mean, that's to give you an instance, when we closed for lockdown 2, we had 17 bookings then. So we've had to, obviously, we refunded them. So imagine how many we've got going over Christmas. And it had picked up a little bit. But we're having now people ring. We've even had somebody ring earlier on who's travelling in May who wants to swap the holiday. So it's just people are reading, as I said, the test thing with the private companies that has had a bit of a meltdown on social media. We've had customers that haven't got on flights because of it. So we've had to swap the holidays. And then this on the top of it has just been, it's frustrating because also when I look at it thinking, well, how come it's all the islands as well? And, not like we've done for Greece where it's specific ones. So very, very frustrating. And like I said, it just gets you, I've tried to have, to be honest, I came today, Lucy, thinking, right, Tony, positive pants. And now I've got my Nike knickers on instead. So, it's just,
It's one step forward, isn't it? And 2 steps back. I want to come back and we'll pick up on the testing thing in a minute, but I'm going to come to you, Amanda, because I know you do a lot of Canaries as well, lots of family business over the winter. So what's it been like for you? Similar?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were in the same place yesterday. I kind of got tipped off in the afternoon that it might happen. And then there was a teaser put on Twitter about, wait for a shocker. So we'd already kind of ran our reports. So, we were due to have our kind of Designer Travel family quiz night on Zoom. And so quickly trying to get everything ready before that. So, we've contacted all the clients. We've got probably about 45 to 50 bookings impacted. We're traveling in December. Like Tony said, complete shock. And also the fact that, the Canary Islands are totally independent islands. And then to just, broad brush approach again with, we're taking them off. And I think what's frustrating is we're letting people go shopping to the Trafford Centre and to London, where the risk is so much higher than going on holiday, where, in the main, the people in the Canaries that are testing positive will not be from leisure because most people everyone's having to be tested on before travel. So, I think that as a travel agent now, we're having to become so resilient over just getting on with it. It's another thing we've got to deal with. Let's just put the wheels in motion and get on with it, which is what we do now. We're very good at doing it, and it's just frustrating, but we've got no control over it. So the only way to deal with it is just get on with it. But the one positive thing is most of the clients that we've spoken to that are due to depart imminently, a lot of higher end clients because of what we do, but nobody's cancelled. Everyone's
Wow.
I'm going to Dubai, get me to Dubai, get me to the Caribbean. So actually clients are getting as frustrated as we are, and they have already potentially got tests booked, which a lot of them have had to prepay. So I think they're just going, where else will you send me? So we've got inquiries coming out of our ears, hopefully a few going your way, Gordon, to Dubai today. So yeah, and I think we've just got to onwards and upwards, you know, you've got to just.
And when you say, is anybody still happy to go to the Canaries still? Because of course the Foreign Office advice hasn't followed, has it yet? I mean, often it triggers the Foreign Office advice change to, you know, all but essential travel. But as we record this now, that is still, you know, in place. You can still go. I just wonder if people are comfortable going and quarantining, obviously. But
I think there's been a real step change, because what's happened historically up until this point is the night on a Thursday that we find out, the main tour operators, so for example the Jet2, will say, for everyone going tomorrow, don't go to the airport.
Yeah.
And then the following day they will issue instructions about what happens moving forward. Well, last night Jet2 were very clear, we are still operating as of tomorrow. So our clients that were due to travel today went. The ones that are due to travel tomorrow are going to go. Obviously, you've got this test and track, the one where you've got 5 days.
Test and release, yeah.
Test and release. There's so many tests and everything.
No, don't worry.
So, you know, I think some people will then, you know, go and pay for that additional test after 5 days of coming home. So I think people are just, why would we be stuck here in our house? We might as well be stuck in Tenerife or Lanzarote getting a bit of sunshine, and we'll be probably locked down when we come home anyway. So I think people are just not in the same space as they were before.
Yeah, but of course, as you pointed out, some of your clients are perhaps at that more affluent end, and I suppose they're just like, well, let's just pay for it and get on with it. Tony, I'll come back to you because I know some of your clients perhaps don't have that option. But let's bring Gordon in. I mean, Amanda made that point there, Gordon, about how some business might go your way now. I think things were picking up for you anyway, and I guess this Canaries news, that you might well see people switching to Dubai and other destinations. Do you think that will happen?
Yeah, definitely. Just as you touched on earlier, those sort of green shoots of recovery, we'd started to see that over the last 3 weeks. When Dubai was added to the travel corridor about 3 weeks ago, demand and bookings went absolutely bananas, went through the roof. Albeit we don't sell the Canaries, but it's still just that optimism we're starting to see with all the sort of little run of positivity we'd seen for a long time. Don't get me wrong, I still think we're up the whatever creek, but at least we felt as if we had a bit of a paddle over recent weeks to try and get ourselves out of it. So adding Tenerife just puts that doubt in people's mind again. But certainly from a long haul end, Dubai is going, as I said, bananas. Caribbean continued to be available throughout the sort of lockdown period. It's consistently grown, particularly by places like Barbados and Antigua and Maldives. So all we are selling predominantly at the moment are those 3 destinations. The other side of the world's kind of parked. A lot of those destinations have been very vocal around not wanting British visitors for the foreseeable future. We got an update, I think yesterday, saying that Thailand's now not going to be open until at least July next year. So we're focusing all our efforts on that sort of West piece. And customers, we're actually now starting to really struggle for availability, and particularly a lot of the prime beach hotels in Dubai. I was speaking to a DMC yesterday, and he said this is the highest occupancy they've had for about 4 years. And a lot of the beach hotels. So a lot of that was booked earlier from a domestic point of view. So people in the Middle East just go to Dubai for New Year or whatever. But certainly from a British end, the last few weeks, the say the inquiries have went up nearly 700% to Dubai, revenues up nearly 400. So it's definitely, people see it as a safe option.
Yeah. And Tony, would your clients switch to a long haul? Because obviously a lot of the research that we're getting is people are wanting to go, but maybe a bit nervous to go long haul. Or do you think now they're just so frustrated they'll just go where they can, where it's available, where they actually can go? Are you getting any switches that way?
No, I think the thing for us is the people that, you know, we're near Leeds Bradford Airport. The majority, obviously, our med business normally is absolutely huge. So some will switch, but not in the numbers that we would be sending,
Yeah.
you know, to the Canaries and things. You know, it's just, it just is frustrating that it's trying to understand what is going on, really. You know, we've got this so-called travel task force. Well, I'll be honest, what are you doing? You know, it just really frustrates. You know, they've said this test to release after 5 days. Now they're telling us that it's only with selected providers that are going to do it. I must have missed that email that he sent out, Grant. Sorry, I've not got it yet to tell my customers. So it's trying to think how we sell it to people. So I've just said to the girls this morning, look, we say to people who are going forward that if you're on a 7-day holiday, consider it's probably 12 because you've got 5 days if you pay for a test afterwards. But it's all cost. You know, 6-8 weeks ago when we came back out of lockdown 2, whatever it was, we obviously, there was the good news of Canaries, but then there was the negative news that they needed a test. So then there was 150 quid to go on top of the holiday. Then people got it down to 120. Then we had discounts down to £75. So then you're thinking, wow, that we're getting there, it's getting better. And then the antigen test, and then obviously I get a punch in the kidneys last night to say that, yeah, so and then people are calling because, you know, we're even having calls yesterday about Brexit and people saying, will we not be able to travel on the 1st of January because of obviously what's in the news again.
Well, yeah, and then we had the announcement that there's a serious possibility that we won't get a deal. So we'll come on to that. Yeah. Tony, just before we move on from you, just explain, you mentioned at the start that you were having real problems with this testing. Was it sort of getting tests and getting the results in time, or working out which companies to use, or what? And you said it's actually meant some people couldn't travel.
Yeah, so these companies have obviously done some deals with some tour operators where you get a discounted rate, and they've not been able to cope. That's the gist of it, really. And I said to one customer yesterday, I've had people due to fly, was that yesterday, and I got them the day after. I've had to change days and things because they haven't come. They've got the test, they've sent them off, they've not heard from the company. I was here on Sunday swapping people's holidays who were due to go on Saturday that didn't get off. But like I said to these companies, they've obviously got involved with tour operators, they've been offered all this business and they've not been able to cope with it. It's a bit like, I've said to my customers, it's a bit like my supermarket that I'm next to, getting shocked when we all turn up for turkeys for Christmas, saying, oh, I didn't expect so many things. Yeah. Well, obviously, you were going to get inundated, and they have been, and they've not been able to cope with it. So another headache to deal with, and you just think, oh, you know, but anyway, we've got people away, but it's maybe not the days that they needed to go. And then just to really start my Christmas off with a bang, I get this. So yeah, ho ho ho.
Oh my God, I'm not going back to Tony. We'll leave him to calm down for a second. Amanda, aside from this Canaries issue, and I know it's massive, so I do understand, but Gordon was saying that the last 3 weeks or so he had seen things picking up, and I know you'd put out a release saying that we've heard that you'd seen a pickup. So where to? What kind of things were you seeing? What trends were showing?
I mean, because we're a home working company, we've kind of been able to adapt, I think, a lot better because everyone that works for us is already used to working from home. So it's business as usual. So I think we've fared fairly well over the whole of the period. But the first week in November, I think everyone will agree, was a disaster. And then literally at the end of that week, the news of the vaccine kind of started leaking out. And honestly, from that moment, we have been trading kind of like 70, 80% of last year's numbers. And bearing in mind, last year we were trading 40, 50% up. When it got to the last week in November, for the first time since lockdown, we traded 36% up, which was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
When I look at the November stats, the biggest departure month was Christmas this year. That was our biggest departure month that we booked within November. The second biggest was next Christmas, because people that had missed this Christmas, or it was proving to be too difficult, and then it was summer holidays. So what we're not seeing is a lot of January and February and early March bookings. So I think people are making the decisions very late or looking into next year. And, you know, we've kind of adapted this whole approach of fishing for inquiries. Don't wait for things to knock on the door. And we've been proactively contacting clients with options that we think they would like. And we've had so many take-ups that, you know, many of our home workers are actually...
So people who weren't thinking of travelling in January and February at all, really, but you've found good deals and you've thought, actually, I've got to push this.
Yeah, so as an example, you'd phone a client and say, I know last year you were thinking of going to Mykonos and you didn't go. We've found this amazing deal for a week. It's just got your name on it. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about booking. It's only a £60 deposit. But what have you got to risk? The next thing, they book 3 holidays because they know, you know, they trust us enough to know that we're not just, you know, we're giving them advice that's booked now because the prices are the best you're going to get. So right. Because we've adapted that kind of really proactive approach of kind of fishing, it's, you know, we've had bookings to Japan, bookings to New Zealand, you know, lots and lots of short breaks and extra trips for the clients signing up. So, you know, I feel quite positive about, you know, even peaks. I know some people are talking it up, some people are talking it down. I think we'll be at 80% at least of what we did last year. And last year we traded 40% up. So I may well be wrong, but guess what? That mindset gets me through the day and enables me to keep a positive head on. And that positive head, when you're dealing with clients, is exactly what gets you the bookings.
Yeah, well, good for you, because it can grind you down, and it sounds like you're doing brilliantly. Well done. Gordon, are you as positive as Amanda about peaks?
I think so. Yeah, as Amanda said, you've kind of got to be. Listen, the industry's been through so many ups and downs over the last couple of years. This is obviously the biggest down. But yeah, you've got to stay upbeat. I think from our point of view, it's having that sort of plan A and plan B. And very much like Amanda says, fish where the fish are. So we're adapting a lot of the messaging that we sent out. We're moving a lot more of our focus onto digital and social, so agents can share those offers quite easily, and more so than ever before. Again, we obviously don't have that conversation with the customer. We've got the agent to do that for us. But if you put a strong enough offer out, or the right offer to the right customer, we're seeing a direct return on that. So we'll back a deal, even talking Thailand, which is close to July, but for the back end of sort of Q4 with some deals with Elephant Hills. So we put an offer out, and lo and behold, in 24 hours you'll get 8 bookings. It's really, really obvious to see if you're doing the right stuff. It is generating a return, definitely.
And do you think peaks will be quite price led? I know people normally put out great offers and all the rest of it, but you know, do you think we're going to see massive discounting to get stuff away, or is it more about the right offer or the right added value? You know, what do you think that's going to be different this year?
I think price always comes into it. It's amazing. We as a luxury operator over the last sort of 6 weeks have had 2 of the highest value bookings that we've ever had in our 18-year trading history. And you actually sit there and debate with yourself whether to take the booking or not, because of the constant changing in the landscape that we work in. So there are customers out there with huge sums of money. Price is always important. Even these top end clients that are spending hundreds of thousands on a holiday don't want to feel as if they're getting ripped off. They're still looking for that added value. They still don't want to feel as if, because of their wealth, that they've been taken for a ride. So
that's the same regardless of the pandemic. Yeah, it's just going to be
exactly that happens. I'm like, we are hoping for a strong January, February. We've certainly seen a big increase in the last 3 weeks. Like the guys, the first week in November was a shocker, but this week, compared to the first week in November to the first week in December, we're nearly 400% up on the first week in November. So demand is there. Customers do want to travel. We have that run of positive news, from the vaccine to the reduction in testing to more places being added to the corridors. So we're getting that. It's the first time, I think, in the 8 months that we've had that sort of 3 or 4 things. Obviously,
going well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just set us back. from an overall confidence point of view. But just ready for, if it's the demand's there, then we roll out the big guns. If demand doesn't come, then we maybe hold our powder dry and move peaks to April, May, June. I definitely think next year overall will be a good year. Now, whether it starts in January or whether that, again, speculation around the relaxing of restrictions around Christmas and what that might lead to a second lockdown. As I said, I don't think we're out the woods yet. I think there will be another bump in the road that we all need to get over. But we are there ready, and if it is there, then as I say, we'll roll out our bigger campaigns. If
You've got this plan. Sorry to interrupt, Gordon, but you've got a kind of contingency plan in case we get a third lockdown due to everyone being allowed to go out over Christmas or mix over Christmas, and so you feel there could be another lockdown, and then you'll just shunt campaigns and plans that you have just a bit further down the line. Okay, that's
exactly it. So it's a plan. So it's either January, February, and about a March, or Easter onwards, and what that looks like. And it's focused our efforts on the destinations that we know are going to be open, that customers want to travel to. There has certainly been a contraction in the travel windows for ourselves, that we used to have quite a long book to travel period. Customers would book more than a year in advance and have something to look forward to. We're seeing for certain destinations, Caribbean and Dubai being the primary two. Customers are quite happy to book this week and travel next week, or book today and travel on Wednesday. It's that short a window. Whereas other destinations, we're seeing quite an upturn in wedding bookings, and a lot of them are focused on 2022. Obviously, customers who maybe were going to get married this year and it's not happened, thinking, right, well, it's not ideal, but we'll give ourselves a year to sort of resave up, and we'll book it for 2022 in the hope that vaccines prevalent and things have sort of improved and we can go and we won't have to change our plans again. We're on to, I think, some of manifestation 4 or 5 of the same holiday. And some of these are from the Thomas Cook collapse. And when that happened, these people haven't managed to get on holiday yet. It's been quite a year for a lot of them.
If you couldn't talk over Amanda's dogs, Tony, I think that's the postman. He always turns up when we do one of these. Tony, did you, similar to the guys talking about the vaccine, did you notice, did that sort of, help demand and people getting excited again? Did it have any effects in your customer base?
Yeah, I mean, we've during the summer we've traded okay. Actually, I've invested and marketed. We've had radio campaigns. I've decided that during this summer and throughout the year that I'd market when I think others want marketing. So if there were any business to be there, I wanted my bigger share, because I always like a bigger share of cake. I'm a bit greedy. And so actually looking forward, I think once people do start traveling, I think for travel agents that, we just obviously got to get through it and survive. As next year's bookings are looking brilliant, I think we'll have a really, really busy year. Once it starts, I think we're going to be crazily busy as well. And for people, I think people's habits have changed how they book holidays. So we've got, what we noticed that for the people that we've had booked this year, we've had a lot of new people come to us from places outside this area as well, which is quite amazing, really. So obviously we've not done the numbers where we should have, but there's certainly definitely, positive things. And my marketing is going to be the same in January. Well, actually, it's going to be a little bit more than it was last January. And we've increased we've been going 7 years now. And the last 8 years, we've grown every year. And our Januaries every year for the past 8 years have been the best every year. I don't expect it to be the best, but I think we'll have a decent January. And actually, if I look at if lockdown 3, if we have it, and like Gordon, I think that's probably going to happen. But I think it might be a good thing for travel, because if we use social media, etc., people are really fed up and want something to look forward to. Our campaign, if you like, is look forward to 2021 travel. That's as focused. So I actually think once it starts, it'll be crazy busy. Where I noticed yesterday, I was looking at some of the quotes. We're doing a quote for 21 grand at the moment for a booking. It's quite a nice mix. I'm on a couple of focus group with agents, and I've been talking to them the last week or so, and they're all doing some nice quotes and getting some nice bookings in. So there's definitely some demand there, and that'll just continue to grow. I've no doubt about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the point you make though is interesting. It's like, as long as agents can survive, is what you said right at the start. Yeah. And you know that, I mean, I should bring us on to the other news this week, which was the ONS figures coming out and showing that travel was by far the worst hit sector. You know, travel agents and tour operators up to 90% down. I mean, it's fantastic to hear that your figures are, you know, your bookings are picking up and you're not as, you know, not as down as that perhaps, but you know, it's still serious, isn't it, for some agents? And then we've got other people saying this canary news actually could cause some collapses because some people will have been very dependent on the winter, you know. So it is still tough out there for agents, isn't it? You say you're on these focus groups, Tony. Are people still worried?
Yeah, of course. Listen, there's some positive signs, but it is still, you know, it's like any little dip. And it's, what do you do with your staff? Do I furlough them? Do I take them off furlough? It's really like planning for January. Do I plan? Do I market? Do I spend some money? Do I not? You know, it's difficult, you know, and you're trying to second and third guess what's going to happen, what they're going to do. So yeah, it is difficult. There's no doubt about that. But I always try and look at a positive, or how I can, you know, think, how can I twist? How can we look at something? So we're still going to go full steam ahead. You know, we're still doing a competition in December, and actually we've had some nice comments on that. So but there is the little dips that are still going to be there. And as I said, I think if you get, you know, you've got to plan to survive towards April, because I think push that with a vaccine and then hopefully testing and everything will be under control. And I think that then I think bookings will be good. And as I said, I think people will go back to agents or look at changing the way they've done it. If they've had a bad experience, and I do a radio thing still every 2 weeks with the BBC, the mood has changed. It's a more positive mood than it was a few months back. So, you know, more people are looking forward. Listen, we've got that wanderlust, haven't we? Lots of people love to travel, wherever that is. It's still there in people, and it's depressing as the winter here in the UK. So that's on our side. So there'll be more things on our side going forward, and we're a step nearer to doing it.
All right, Amanda, I'm going to come to you in a second, but just to go to Gordon, because of course there's the other news around, you know, in Scotland where your company is based. Obviously, the government is, I think, 5 million for travel agencies, 6 million for tour operators and coach operators. I mean, that was clearly very welcome news in Scotland.
Oh, definitely. And I'd just like to thank the SPAA for lobbying on behalf of tour operators and travel agents. We've been in discussions with Joanne and the team there, just talking about, yeah, we're a Scottish-based business. So there's not a lot of detail other than the headline figures that have come out. But yeah, I think whatever the Scottish government are doing, I definitely think that should be something that should be looked at nationally, and everyone should be able to dip into a pot. Our industry, as you said, has been one of the hardest hit. We're one of the first to go into this, and we're going to be probably one of the last to come out. And government really don't seem to grasp the challenges that we face. I think they sort of get the airline piece, but they don't really seem to get travel agents and tour operators and the challenges that we're facing on a daily basis, where you're basically refunding all your clients' money plus credit card fees and whatever, and you've no income coming in. So yeah, any help that we can get from the Scottish government will be very welcome, and we're just waiting on a little bit more detail around how we go about applying for this support and what that looks like. You see that we've obviously, like every business, we've utilised furlough, but it's difficult when you're trying to deal with demand, albeit it's not maybe new bookings, but you still have to offer a high level of service for those clients who you've got booked, or queries in existing bookings, and processing all the admin that goes around. And as I say, it's been right throughout. There's still been, even in the darkest of days, there's still been nice inquiries coming in right throughout this. As Tony says, customers still want to travel. So you can't turn those away, and so it's trying to balance all the balls at the one time and make sure that you have enough staff in to service the demand that's there, whatever that looks like, but also try and save as much cash as you can. As Tony says, it is about just getting out the other side of this as an industry and rebuilding for the future. I say we're very much using it as a as a reset button and as a business. So how are we going to do things differently moving forward? How's our relationship with our travel agents partners going to change? And we've kind of taken the opportunity to say, right, if we were starting if only on Monday, how would we structure it? What
will you do differently, Gordon?
We're changing everything. So we've invested quite heavily through the winter months in technology. So we're going to have new systems to be able to fulfill the bookings quicker. We're going to have a bookable website before the end of 2021. We've restructured our teams. Before, our teams were all split destinationally. So we're going to restructure our teams, particularly in light of sort of borders still being closed. So we're going to restructure our teams so that they focus on beach and then tailor more specialist stuff, which is later on in the year, probably in a bit more detail, but have that focused on beach to begin with, particularly for peaks, because that's where the demand is. People want to go to the Caribbean, Indian Ocean and Arabia. We're also seeing a sort of Biden effect. We're definitely seeing an increase in USA bookings, which we hadn't really seen for a number of months. But since the election, that's started to come to the fore, sort of Easter onwards. So yeah, we're looking at everything from our docs, to our system, to our people, to our processes, and using this time to, as I say, become a new startup really, and take the business forward into 2021 and beyond. As I say, I think 21 will be a good year in the sort of collective sense, but it's then how do we grow? How do we, like Tony, we'd sort of seen sort of 5 or 6 years of steady growth. This has obviously knocked us back a year or two, and it's then how do we grow that again? But what do we do differently? Kind of learning from the past.
No, it's sensible to use sensible to use the time. I mean, it's interesting, Manda. You've got Gordon saying he's used the time to think about how he works with the trade. Tony saying he's seeing more people coming to use his services, people that are out of area, people he's not, new clients. I mean, we've talked before, haven't we, about how the role of the travel agents is going to become even more important. Are you starting to see, or are you starting to feel that tour operators are treating you even better, realizing how much even more that the value that you add to their business?
I mean, I think that the tour operators that we work closely with we've always had a really strong partnership, give and take relationship. And I think that's really helped us through this whole period because, we have been trying really hard to get refunds on time, etc. I think there are a number of suppliers that have behaved in a way that is just outrageous, and therefore we will not be using those companies going forward. And I think clients will also, like I think Tony said, will have long memories. If they have been mistreated by a travel agent, a tour operator, an OTA, then I think that will, at least for 1 year, leave them a bit scarred and be using an alternative source of an agent. But I think that, we have been honest throughout. We have looked after our clients and our team. And, you just got to hope that you're remembered for that when the time comes that, the business comes back. And I believe that we firmly will be in that place. And I think our partnerships with our key suppliers will be as strong as ever. We will get new suppliers because we have tried working with some new companies as well. And I feel very optimistic. One thing that I get very worried about is I think there's been a lot of travel agencies that have had little support from people and managers and companies. And I really fear they are in a very dark place, and you've got to have somebody to pick you out of that dark place, because otherwise you only ever see the negative instead of dealing with the negative and looking forward. And I speak to a lot of people when we talk through recruitment, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to hear some of the stories about how people have literally been left on their own. And
do you mean other homework? Do you mean sort of people in home workers or just in
tour operators? We have lots of conversations with people, and if I was going to give any travel agent or travel person any advice, it really is be kind to yourself. Take time over Christmas to recharge your batteries and dust yourself down, because better times are coming, and it may well not feel that they're far, it still might feel that they're far away, but yes, we're going to have another quarter of rocky road going up and down, but we've already done nearly a year, so we've got a much smaller journey. And I think that if people can do that and look after themselves, the way they will communicate with their customers and they do a booking, and it will just be a snowball effect for their mental health as well as their financial situation. So that would be my advice to travel. And I don't just mean agents, but people who have really struggled and felt, alone through
Quite
this.
alone, yeah, and lots of people who have been furloughed and haven't, it's been very difficult. And I
Yeah.
know you'll agree with that, Tony, because we've talked before about how you've been really up and down, haven't you? And that's just you. You've also got a team of people that you've got to, as Amanda says, you all have. You've all got teams of people that you've got to keep motivated and positive. And I know it's been tough sometimes when you just feel like you're constantly, I think you use the word, it's just another blow. How do you keep?
I've had actually agents that I don't know ring me after we've done some things, listen, I try. In the past, I've tried to be positive and have a spin, and how can we look at the situation and make something out of it. I probably things like when we first went in March, actually, how do we spin that as a positive? Well, actually, I'm going to get everybody to follow us on Facebook, and then we've got a marketing tool that's getting bigger and bigger, or whatever that is. So you try and have a positive spin, but it is difficult, and I've said to people that, have I found it hard? Yeah. Do I sometimes, have I cried? I absolutely have. Have I pulled my hair out, my grey hair at that? And, absolutely I have. But I still think, I try to think, wow, I am so lucky to have fallen into this industry, and I did fall into it. And I absolutely love it. And now that, if you like, I'm missing so much from it, I love traveling, I love meeting people, as customers, as for instance, I spoke to a customer yesterday, be it to do with testing, and then she just went on to praise us and his team. I'll be honest, I had to take a sharp intake of breath, because she nearly had me in tears, and she didn't realise what she'd done, and that's happened quite a few times. And so it is really difficult. And look, we are in an amazing industry. Yet the government don't seem to look at their own statistics. They don't seem to, for whatever reason, want to give our industry help to get us. There's fantastic businesses and people out there that work in there throughout the whole thing, from people who work at airports to people who drive people to the airports. It's absolutely huge, but it is a love of travel that everybody has got, that we will get through it. We're nearly there. We've still got some things to do, but actually, we're all going through it. So actually, if you feel you're going through it on your own, that's not true. For us who might say, oh yeah, things are good, it's not all good, but we will get there. This is still an amazing thing, and it's still amazing that we will get back to traveling. I never thought as a child I would travel where I did. I thought Blackpool as far as I was going to get, and I love Blackpool, but so yeah, we'll get through it. We'll definitely get through it. We're still in a fantastic industry.
Do you know what, Tony? I think in the course of this webcast, you've got your narky knickers off and you've put your positive pants back on.
And my Christmas jumper.
Yay, and your Christmas jumper. All right. Well, look, we're probably out of time anyway. I'm so grateful to you all. I know it's so tough, and I think people will watch this and they will be inspired and they will be motivated. Lovely words from you all. And I think we as you say, a bit rocky ahead. We know that, but it does feel like we have got a bit of a better time coming. So with that, I will thank you all for your time. So to Tony from Idle Travel, to Gordon from If Only, and to Amanda from Designer Travel, thank you so much.
Okay.
Wish you a Merry Christmas and good luck for next year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. See you later.